good evening, everybody, and welcome to the second half of our doubleheader tonight. Great first act there, Motor City Man Mouse Show featuring LA sportscaster Fred Wallen. Now, here we are with the Sports Exchange. Please be joined by George Eichhorn. George, welcome back.
Hi, good to be on, Scott. Welcome. Hi. Welcome. Yeah,
right,
welcome.
Welcome back to my own show. Good stuff. All right, Eichhorn. Are you drinking the Mountain Dew? Are you drinking the Kool-Aid or what? I don't know.
No, it's just regular water.
Oh, I thought he was drinking Burners. Okay, that's all right. And we have Jacob Christner on. Welcome back, Jacob.
Yeah, it's water, all right. It's a Jim Jones special.
Yeah, sure.
So how you doing, Eichhorn?
There you go.
I'm doing well.
Yeah.
And last but not least, a man who definitely needs a new pair of sneakers after his run-in with the Big East tournament, Joe Ellis. So where are you at? You in Chicago or New York right now?
I'm in Chicago, finally.
Okay, made
finally.
it back to the Windy City. All right, well.
Yeah.
And I'm back here in Broward County. I wasn't there before. So, you know what, Joe? One of the things I enjoyed about last week's show, when we brought you on, had that remote out there in Madison Square Garden, and you actually look like a really legitimate remote reporter out there, which is why I had to extend you 15 minutes. You actually look the part of a broadcaster on site. I'm telling you, that was pretty good. You might want to save that up if you ever get a big-time job and use that as your segment, because you know what? You never know those opportunities. You actually look pretty good there. So,
thank you.
But with that said, we're going to talk about J.B. Ellis's experience covering the Big East tournament, Connecticut winning it all, and then you had another storyline that proceeded afterward, Rick Pitino declining an NIT bid. So, Joe, summarize the entire experience of what it was like for you to cover a tournament of that nature. We know the Big East tournament certainly has an incredible history. We know Madison Square Garden is the ultimate backdrop for it. So the floor is yours for the next 5-10 minutes, whatever you need, to tell me your story about last week.
So it was actually an amazing experience. I mean, obviously the Big East is one of the top conferences in college basketball, if not the best, one of the top three, in my opinion. The coaches of the conference are top-notch. Rick Pitino, a legend. Kim English, who was in his first year, really young, great young coach. It goes on with, all the coaches there that did a phenomenal job. Danny Hurley, who was coach of the year for the UConn Huskies of the Big East, who has the team as the overall number one seed of the big tournament now. He did a great job. It was great seeing how dominant Connecticut is because, watching him on TV compared to seeing him live in person, it's a much different game. It's a lot quicker than you thought. They have a great inside game. They have some good guards that can shoot the ball. They're going to be a tough team for anybody to beat throughout the tournament. I think that they're going to go all the way. And seeing the other top teams in the Big East, it showed me that the Big East should have had 6 teams in the tournament, all the way down to St. John, Seton Hall, and Providence, all who didn't make it. I was quite shocked to see that. I thought Providence should have made it after winning 2 games in the tournament. I would have loved to have seen St. John's make it. They played UConn tough, lost by 5, and they won the night before against Seton Hall. And Seton Hall also was a great team. Yes, Candy, I agree. Shaka Smart, great coach. Marquette is a really good team. Would it shock me if you got 2 or 3 Big East teams in the Final Four? Because the 3 teams that made it are all really good teams. They all can dominate a game. And Marquette is definitely up there. I can see Shaka Smart getting that team to the Final Four. He's a great coach. Loved his answers to my questions. Listening to him speak, he definitely knows the game. He's more analytical than I had thought. Probably one of the most interesting coaches that I got a chance to speak with. Kim English of Providence, I thought was phenomenal. I think that team's going to turn it around to be really good for years to come with him as the coach. I want to see how he does with recruiting now that he's there in his second year. St. John's did turn down the NIT. I was on the Zoom call with Rick Pitino that Sunday night. And he just didn't feel it was the right move because he's losing 8 guys on the team. He needs to retool for next year. To have the team just go play in the NIT wasn't going to help him. Do I agree with it? I don't know if I agree with it. I would have liked to have them play the games and win the NIT, but that's me. I don't get to make those decisions. Um, but I definitely understand it. And you saw a couple of the teams that went to the NIT already lost. I believe Seton Hall lost, if I'm correct. I was looking at the scores earlier. Um, then of course the Big East did extend the agreement with MSG for another 4 years. We got to hear from Commissioner Val Ackerman, about the 4-year extension, which I thought was interesting. And their arrangement with the Garden. So we know that the Big East tournament will be there for at least through year 50, which is 2032. It's the longest tournament in any continuous location. I thought it was just overall top-notch experience. I think the Big East did a great job from start to finish. It started with a press conference with the award ceremony on Wednesday afternoon. Then after that, there was a ton of great games. I thought everything was enjoyable to watch.
Right into the chat room, we talk about Shaka and Marquette. And here's a guy, Joe, you're going to be hearing a lot more of. His name is Blake Lozinski. I've been on the phone with him a few times this week. I'm bringing in some new blood here to try to freshen things up on the network. Blake, Joshua Bernstein are a couple of guys that you're going to be hearing a lot more about over the next several weeks. So these guys are going to breathe some energy here, and so get ready to watch for those. And as these guys pop in, the chat room, I'll acknowledge them. Jesse Stauber is another guy. So when you start seeing names, Joe, George, and Jacob, you're going to realize that this is the future of what we have going on here. So how you doing, Blake? Great to have you on, and just letting you know that this is the big time, and this is obviously our biggest show on the network, the Sports Exchange. So, and what we have here is all right. So he's saying that Josh is the best broadcaster coming up, Joshua Bernstein. And by the way, Joe, what's good about him is I met him through the Coral Springs Chamber of Commerce, and you never know when you're going to meet sport fans there. Candy put up a score at Seton Hall 75, St. Joe's 72 in overtime. So there you go. So we're going to get that chat room rolling there. So, and of course, George, you got a fan out there, Blake Lozinski. There you go.
Thank
These
you.
guys are lobbying for you guys to come
Thank
on
you.
Fire Up, just so you know. So, Joe Ellis, you have to get used to the fact that we're going to have a much more livelier chat. So if I throw you guys off your game a little, I apologize for nothing. And these guys wouldn't let me apologize if they want, because I got to deal with them on FaceTime all the time. All right, so you talked about your experience over at Madison Square Garden. Let me go into mine, okay? Because the first two segments here are based on what you went through and what I went through. Well, last week, as everybody knows by now, I covered the 12 hours of Sebring. And a year before, I covered the Rolex 24. Well, I'm going to tell you that 12 hours of Sebring was a piece of cake compared to what I ended up dealing with before. That's for sure. So here's what transpired. I ended up getting a driver on Friday. I was in the main paddock area. And so that was day one. Day number two, okay, the auxiliary press area was at the hotel at the racetrack. So, guys, this is going to appear in Lessons from the Microphone Part 2. You ready? So get ready, because here we go. My first story, obviously, I talked about a driver. The second one I had was a Cuban reporter that came to the United States when he was really young and ended up becoming a journalist. And now he's a racing researcher, this guy. He really is. So that will be something that ends up getting released before long. Another one I did was on an endurance photographer. This person has worked the 12 hours, the 24-hour race, you name it. And you want to talk about a guy who's pretty lightweight. Well, yeah, if you're sweating all that like you are, then it's another thing. But just to give you an overview of the event, how much IMSA racing has grown, there were 325 media covering this event. 325, and it used to be at around 200 is what there were.
Wow.
But it gets, yeah, I'm telling you, and this is a much smaller arrangement than what you have up in Daytona. Let me tell you. And you want to talk about the signals? I couldn't get a signal out there. Joe, one of these days you want to bring it down here, and you're going to experience this firsthand. You really are. But,
Very cool.
we're going to broaden your horizons and for sure. But here's the kicker, okay? I knew knowing the hotel like I do, okay, we were going to have a hard time finding a place to do these interviews. So there's this lady out here who actually is an automotive painter. And I asked her, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. If you let me go ahead and borrow your art gallery for about an hour, I'll bring you on the broadcast. And she said, well, can I at least be able to get the lunch route from 12 to 1? Absolutely, you can do that. I'll be more prepared for these interviews at 1 o'clock anyways. So, you know, I had this beautiful woman do? She shut down her art gallery for 1 hour, okay, during the busiest race of the year at that place. And you know what? She turned away one customer in the back, and then she had a sign on the door. I told this woman, when are you going to eat lunch? I don't know. Well, you're going to eat it between, 1 and 2 o'clock is when we're doing these interviews. So she said, yeah, I can do that. So then I bring her back in here. We've already got the first two in our pocket. I said, all right, I don't want to mention names because I don't want to give it all away right now. I say, all right, you're up next. She's looking at me. Yeah, I told you, I promised you. But here's what we're going to do with your interview. I haven't had time to prepare for your interview. So you know what we're going to do? I'm going to ask you to talk about your business first, okay? And then I'm going to drill you in rapid fire up questions. You know how long that interview went? 13 and a half minutes. Rapid fire. Yeah, that's the Diet Mountain Dew kicking in, by the way. So with that said, well, the moral of the story
How's it going, Joshua?
The moral of the story is, man, you got to think on your feet. This is what I've been trying to teach y'all forever, okay? You're never going to compete with the cars out there. So find yourself an art gallery, a room in a hotel. Keep it quiet so you can go out there and get your job done. And you know what? All these interviews are going to be released in the next week or so. So, Joe, what do you think of that as resourcefulness?
That sounds like it was a great time.
Yeah. No, Joe,
how many questions do you think you got?
No, the answer I was looking for out of you, pal, is you got it politically wrong. Okay, you know what the answer was? I knew you had a lot up your bag of tricks, motor mouth. That's what I know. And it's like Canada, yes, it's far and wide. That's what I expect out of you, Ellis. Okay.
He's our fearless leader.
Bag of tricks.
How many questions do you think got in those 13 and a half minutes?
You know what? That's a great question. Asking me about the question, I would say at least 12 to 20.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I mean, I let this woman talk for about 2.5 minutes. Boom. I kept firing them. That's just a guess, but, we'll release it out there. So, all right, let's go to the chat room. I told Ellis that this is a different animal here. They're coming from Facebook. They're coming from YouTube. See, Christopher, there might be hope for fun and after all with this energy coming in here, man. Nothing against fun and but we need to make sure everybody can tune into all the broadcasts that we work our butts off to do it. So let's go where were we at? All right. We're at Joshua welcoming Jake B. Ellis back. See, Ellis, you got some fans out here, brother. This guy's from the chamber, okay? Or he was, okay. And now we got AAA, is it Blake Lozinski, okay? And then, of course, Darche, I don't know what that means. Legendary Scott, thank you, Josh. I appreciate you, buddy. And let's keep going out there. Don't mess with who now? He's our fearless leader. Don't mess. There we go. Look at this love here.
More like don't mess with candy.
So, okay, now you're being gone ahead and put on the spot, Ellis, okay? JB, have you read Scott's book yet? Boy, you must know a little something about the Ellis man.
What book?
Telling everybody about you reading that book.
I'm not busting your chop. My agent Joshua Bernstein is. Have you read it?
What book? There's a book?
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm almost done.
Yeah,
I'm almost done.
Education 101 for you. All right, Blake Lozinski, 69 question. Let's keep it going. Oh, yes, the professor and the pupils out there. All right, so these guys are waiting to see when we're going to bring that bad boy on.
That book. Okay.
And Ralph Williams is out there as well. All right, our lovable Ralph. Hello, guys out there. So there we go.
Ralph.
And we're just getting it cranked up with my story. So I got to tell you, it was a lot of fun with that woman. She was a real sweetheart. We were able to use that art gallery and get the necessary interviews we had to get done. And, the tale of the whole event, actually, when you think about it, is this, okay? One day I spent over on the main part of the track, right by paddock where I could get whatever I need. I know exactly how they do a lot of the interviews going forward. And then, of course, I knew that when I was on the other side of the track, I was going to look for different angles. And a new segment that will be coming up in the next week or so is I'm going to take references out of the book and try to associate them with examples, because I want this not only to be an enlightening sports show, but an opportunity to educate the audience about what it takes for us to do what we end up doing. So with that said, but no, Sebring was a lot of fun. The first 2 times I went there, 12 hours seemed like a lot. But when you go to the Rolex 24 and you've been through that endurance race thing there, 12 hours was a walk in the park. JB, the ball buster, look at this stuff. Look at this. I'm telling you, Ellis, you enjoying all these comments are not something you're used to, are they? See what I've been doing while you've been on the road?
Harvey, are you talking about the rabbit? He's trying to get Harvey in here. Is he talking about the rabbit?
No, Harvey's Joshua's dad. So Blake's asking me, am I going to any Formula One races this year? No, not really. My life is all a Formula One race anyways. It doesn't matter. So no, to answer your question, no. I enjoy Formula One though, but IMSA racing is really important too, because these are some of the most skilled drivers out there. You talk about predominantly racing on road courses, but when you talk about IMSA racing in general, okay, you're talking about manufacturers, what you're talking about. And all these cars that the manufacturers, these are the cars that you end up going in all the time, whether it's Mercedes. You talk about money. This IMSA racing circuit has a ton of it. Now, Christopher, just to give you a little heads up, if my schedule allows and there's no football in the way, there is a distinct possibility. Again, it depends on the schedule. I would take you to Road America out in Atlanta.
Track, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I've already been. They've been asking me when am I going to come out there, and what I'm going to do though with Jacob is make it easier on you than I would Ellis. Okay, all I'm going to do with Jacob is make him carry the briefcases instead, and he'll get an earful every time I need him to do something. So he's going to carry the briefcase and carry the clipboard. And boy, I'll tell you what, he better have earplugs, and because I guarantee you, he'll go ahead and have cauliflower ears when I get through it. Christopher. He'll be thinking Christopher was Jesus Christ. Oh God, I don't want to get in trouble with religion here.
Well, you bring him on. Bring Ryan Huffman on.
Yeah, there you go. Ryan Huffman come to the show. Hey, these guys got some unbelievable. I'm going to try to go to the Austin race. Go ahead, Blake. You're out in Texas. I'm sure that'll be a fun race for you. All right, so what do we got here? Aren't you enjoying these comments, Ellis? This is what you've been messing, bro.
Of course.
And Blake, you need a hat. Yeah, there you go, Blake. Yeah, I can tell you the kind of hats I see on these actual calls that we go on called FaceTime. So, yeah, all in all, though, I think when you compare and contrast JB's weekend and mine, they both meant a lot. I mean, think about it. This guy covering the Big East tournament. He's writing stories faster than automobiles could produce cars, okay? And I'm out there, spending a lot of time trying to hunt down ideas. And I think that's important because they're on totally 2 different levels. But the one thing I can say, and Joe was finding out, and Jacob will, that the more versatile in this business that you are, that you cover multiple sports, the more valuable you are to your platform or any potential platform. A lot of my mentors over the years have gone out there and done that. So with that said, there we go. Look at this. Look at this. Look at all these letters there. Motor City. Look at this. See, I can't even get creative like this in the chat room. Let's see. He's got a Motor City. All right, look at this stuff. All right, anyway, let me get out of that.
I can't see it.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go around the horn. Well, Connecticut, George repeat as NCAA champs, and everyone can make predictions.
Well, yeah, matter of fact, they will. I've got them beating Florida Atlantic, a 1-8. Well, first I got them beating Stetson, and then I got them beating Florida Atlantic, and then they're going to beat Auburn. So yeah, I got them going to the championship game where they will play Creighton. I know not many people pulled for Creighton. Most people are going with Marquette, but I'm going with Creighton, and UConn will do back-to-back championships. So I know I'm impressed by them. I mean, pretty much what JB said. I mean, they're just an incredible team, well coached, well disciplined. That crazy technical fouls on those 2 coaches in that tournament, JB. That was a weird That was a weird situation,
It
wasn't
was
it?
very weird. Oh, it was
Yeah.
wild.
I mean, he was talking about some fan or somebody that came out of the court, and
Yeah.
they go and slap the coach with the foul. I mean, with the tee. That was weird. I mean, you saw a great tournament though. You really did, and you're absolutely right, Joe. There's so many good teams, and those teams that were left out of the tournament from the Big East. That's incredible, and it just goes to show you that even though the tournament is as big as it still misses the mark in many people's minds because of how many teams cannot make it. And we saw that vividly, like you said, with the Big East teams. And Oklahoma was left out. There are a bunch of teams that are mad about it. But no, Scott, I think I'm going to go with UConn. It's going to be a great tournament. Michigan's represented by two teams, of course, Michigan State and Oakland University. But I don't see them going very far, either one of those two teams. But looking forward to it. I think it's going to be great. And again, they're in a hot seat. They're in the hot seat, man, UConn, but I have a feeling they can still do it.
All right, let's go to Blake Lozinski's comments. The South Florida Tribune will be bigger than Barstool Sports one day.
All right.
What do you think, guys?
And a lot more intelligence.
People? Well, hold on. What do you think, Mike Cord? Barstool? I don't know. I thought Blake actually brought this up on our phone call today. He really did. So I say, well, it's okay. I don't know. Again, I focus on what we get that big. That I'm not going to complain about that. What do you think, Joe? You think we got a shot at Barstool?
Yeah. What do you think, JB?
Barstool's yesterday. South Florida Tribune and Sideline Sports are already better. It's just a matter of us getting bigger.
There you go.
We don't have a.
That was the right answer. Yeah, no, I'm going to tell you, not bragging or nothing, but I'm going to tell you, Sideline Sports and South Florida Tribune work really diligently hard to try to make sure that we produce not only the best content, but we try to be very different. And I want to point out something that they brought up earlier, and I'm going to mention it now. For those of you that did not watch last night's edition of Inside the Pigskin, that's a must watch because we brought on Billy Regans Jr., and this guy here got to meet Mel Farr Jr. and Coach John Bonamago. And let me just summarize what that was like. These guys know a lot of people, and they want to reach out to help Billy Regans Jr. So for those of you that want to watch that episode, please do so on the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed yet. So all right, Jacob, I don't know, Barstool, you think we're bigger, better with them down the road?
See, we don't have Jersey Jerry, and we don't have, the miniature turtle, and we don't have Frank the Tank. We have intelligent people. So we're going to be bigger than they are. That's no question. And just to let you know about the whole thing with Oakland, I wanted to be one of those guys that picked the craziest story as far as winning my bracket. So I put Oakland as the champion just to do it.
Oh,
I put it just to do it, and it's like, and if it somehow the miracle happened, I'll be the only one that ever did it. So
yeah,
hey,
guys,
have a little fun with it.
The craziest part about guys like you, Christner, if for some reason or another, did you bet any money on it at least?
Nah, just in a bracket.
Oh, you sick them head! I can only imagine what a return on investment would be if they win it all. But
really.
I know about Greg Campy, so you predicted Oakland. Joe, who give me your prediction.
I like UConn. UConn is deep. They have a great team. Klingon is unbelievable in at center. He had a double-double the first half of the championship game. Caravan's another good player. Newton, Spencer, Castle, they're all NBA talent. So, I mean, I can't see anybody beating them. There's nobody I saw that was that impressive. Real quick on the Big East, Rick Pitino somebody made a great point on one of Rick Pitino's tweets. Why the Big East may have only gotten 3 teams. Big East, their TV contracts with Fox. CBS is the one that has the tournament. So if you notice some of the other leagues that have teams that are maybe shouldn't have been there, that got an at-large bid, they were CBS leagues, where, the Big East, which is a Fox league, only got the 3 teams. Something to think about.
Yeah, I never dawned on me, but you know what? There's probably more to this TV thing that meets the eye, Joe. I'm glad you brought that up. For Josh and all you guys in the chat room, think about it, and if you want to comment on that as well. So let me give you 2 teams that I would watch out for. Kelvin Sampson's due to win one. He's been in college basketball a long time, so I think Houston would be an interesting choice. And the other one that I would actually look at might be North Carolina. Because, again, when you come out of the Atlantic Coast Conference, you definitely feel like you've been playing tournament basketball all year. So I would go with North Carolina or Houston. I realize I'm going with obvious number one seeds, but I don't know. For some reason, I think Houston is due. We're not talking five slamma jamma, but Kelvin Sampson, I think, might finally get it right this time. And I know Denzel Snipes will be doing cartwheels, if indeed that were to happen. Is UCF it? You know something, Blake? Don't make me say this to you. UCF got knocked out by my alma mater in the NIT. So,
Yeah,
buddy, the war on I-4 didn't work out well for you this particular time. All right, so now, JB, you alluded to this a little bit earlier. Now I want to go ahead and bring it up a little bit more. FAU could face UConn in the second round. A lot of people thought they should have faced them in the finals last year if it wasn't for that unfortunate situation with San Diego State. But now, obviously, I do believe that they should beat Northwestern. And by the way, Northwestern is coached by former NBA coach and player Doug Collins' son, Chris Collins. So what do you guys think about FAU and Northwestern? We'll start with you, George.
I'm going with FAU, Scott. I mean, like you said, they've had a very good year, and I think they're, again, a team that's very talented. And, I mean, Northwestern, they've never really been any kind of basketball powerhouse, not in my time, at least. I mean, they had a couple of good years of, as we all know, in football, more than a couple of good years. But Christner might know more about that because that's his Chicago area where he loves to talk about. But I'm going to go with FAU, Scott. I'm going to have them beating Northwestern. I did have that down in my bracket, and we'll see from there. But, yeah, they've had a great year, FAU.
All right, so let me ask the second part of that question, okay? You think they have a puncher's chance to upset UConn?
No, I don't. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm going to stick with my predictions, and that's where I had them being eliminated. But again, these tournaments, these teams are so close. So many of them, these seeds are so hypothetical. They're so hard to predict what's going to happen. I mean, anybody can win, is the old saying. Obviously, in any game, any sport, but I think especially in this tournament. You got some upper teams. You're right. You got UConn, you got Houston, you got Marquette. You got some really good upper echelon teams, but you also got some teams that can really pull upsets. I'm going to say.
No, go ahead, George. Finish.
I was just going to say, I'm going to still say UConn would defeat them.
And we all know that Dusty May is the hot coaching candidate. We're going to get to that just in a moment, but obviously you're going to hear a lot about his name throughout the tournament. Let's go back to the chat room, okay? Okay, Blake Lozinski, I got FAU for sure. Says I'm putting $1,000 on it. I like guys when they put their money where their mouth is. FAU, Joshua, I can see why you're in our neck of the woods. And of course, Joshua, Dusty, Register May. Joshua's into the nickname thing. Just like I have to go out there and say Joshua Door Bernstein. For a lot of us people in Detroit, there used to be a furniture store called Joshua Door, which is probably how he got the thing when he was in my chamber group anyway. So, all right, we're going to go to Jacob on the same question. All right, Jacob, first and foremost, is FAU beating Northwestern?
Yeah, I do believe that. And be careful with UConn. Mind you, they might lose to Stetson Bennett if he gets enough alcohol in him. So, okay. I mean, you got to get this thing. But no, FAU.
Okay, so now
FAU
I'll give you the second half of the question. Do you think they have a puncher's chance to beat?
Yeah, anybody has a puncher's chance, but boy, as JB said, UConn's got a lot of inside game. They literally are going to have to force them to shoot and just get and hope. And everybody's got a puncher's chance. Everyone except for Jake Paul.
Okay, Joe.
They're going to beat Northwestern. That I have no issue with. UConn, they have to play their best game they can possibly play. Any team's beatable, especially in the tournament. But in order to beat UConn, you have to play your number one game and hope that UConn plays its C game. Then you have a shot. So, I mean, you can play your best. That doesn't mean you're going to win.
Right.
I think St. John's, they didn't play their best game. They lost by 5. Marquette, I think, played its best game for about 30 minutes. And all of a sudden it fell apart and they lost by 16. And it was a close game with 11 minutes to go. So, and Marquette's a really good team. UConn is just on that next level.
Yeah, well, Troy Gary, glad to
Yeah,
hear from you. Kolek goes back.
Kolek's supposed to be back. He's supposed to be back for the tournament. The coach confirmed he's supposed to be playing, so we'll see if that changes.
First round or past?
First round. He's supposed to be playing this weekend.
Good hearing from you, Troy. All right, let me give you my perspective on it. Maybe I might have a bit of a different perspective because I'm closer to the Owls than you guys are. Number one, this is a very, very experienced team. They've been on a mission all year because they felt like they came up a little bit short. The one thing that FAU has that most teams don't is they practically have all their players coming back from that Final 14. Experience does matter. It really does. Now, and again, I'll give you something that Penny Hardaway told me when I was covering the Memphis game about Vladislav Golden, okay? And that's this. This guy here is somebody that you fear. You wait, he guards the rim, shoots well from the outside, and is able to score in the paint. John L. Davis was co-AAC Player of the Year, a guy that you could be seeing in the pros. I think you could see Golden as well. So when you talk about the experience that FAU has and a school like FAU, to me, the way you approach it is you can play 4 years here, where a lot of times, you can, if your coach convinces you to play 4 years here, you're going to be much more pro ready than you would anywhere else. Because your team, you'll be better at your game. And when you see all these guys that have 1 or 2 years of experience and then don't make it, well, these guys are a lot more seasoned. So, I know it. I do believe that they'll beat Northwestern, but I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll be the bold one here. I guess I'm subjective for saying this. I will predict that FAU will beat Connecticut. I will. And I'll tell you why. Because of the experience factor and Dusty May. This guy's a heck of a coach. He really is. He's great at his press conferences. I asked him a week ago, I asked him the same question 2 weeks in a row before they ended up beating North Texas and then Memphis in the same week. You feel like your team is ready for the tournament now. But, well, we're ready, but I need to know more. So then you know what I do? A week later, they beat Memphis by 8. Okay. And here's the thing. Now I asked them the same question. You feel, I feel much better now than I did a week ago. I give ourselves a much better chance. And, it didn't, whether they lost to the Temple Owls, but to me in the semifinal, it really didn't matter. I mean, because few people realize that the Florida Atlantic University Owls ended up beating the Arizona Wildcats during the regular season. And they also had one of the toughest strengths of schedules, which is how they got in. And my alma mater, University of South Florida, didn't get in because they had to win their way in the tournament, and UAB subsequently got in. But FAU had already proven its resume, and it doesn't hurt when you're on national TV on CBS and you beat Memphis and you look good doing it. And athletic director Brian White told me before the game that, to me, it's the biggest game ever on this campus. So, I think I'm going to predict FAU, call it the homer. And I'll tell you what, when we revisit this conversation next week, well, I'm either right or wrong. And somebody's be right, somebody's be wrong, because at least I went the other way. But I understand where you guys are coming from. I don't give them a puncher's chance. I give them a real good chance. All right. Back to Troy Gary, having seen Northwestern up close there. Best player, Boo Boye, is really all they got. Okay, good to know. Joshua Bernstein back then. That is final Scott. FAU, Dusty Register May. Again, the king of the nicknames. Don't worry, Ellis, you'll get one soon if this guy hangs around. Okay, they'll win. All right, now we got a nickname here let's go to the nickname for Christner. All right, we have it on there.
I got to see it. Yeah,
I need to see that. I don't know whether that'll.
Rosen.
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
That might be.
Jacob Rosen.
Yeah, and all right, Joshua, I appreciate it. Who's got a cyber truck? I'll tell you, this Blake Lozinski's a blast. You should see him on these FaceTime calls. You won't be wrong, my friend. Joshua, I hope I'm not wrong. And, I've been eating crow, but in the past for stupid stuff, but we'll see. FAU definitely got a pretty interesting draw, but if there's any team capable of doing good things in this tournament, it's with them. Let's stay on to the Dusty May theme for a minute, okay? Would he be the ideal choice to replace Juwan Howard, George Eichhorn? You're there.
Yeah, he's got to be at the top of their list and one of several. But yeah, the speculation is that they got to go outside their comfort zone. U of M, the Wolverines are going to have to definitely do a nationwide search, and things just folded like a deck of cards for Juwan Howard at Michigan. Obviously, he did some great things for the program right at the beginning, but the last couple of years have been really downers. And unfortunately, his very serious health concern with his heart, having to have surgery, complicated matters. But and I know he wanted to stay. He said the night before he was fired that I want to stay here. I want to remain the coach. Well, Ward Manuel, the athletic director, and the powers that be at U of M had different plans. But yeah, Scott, I think he's got to be on the short list. He's a great coach and has done a great job. And Dusty would bring a lot of experience and a lot of well, he's got to bring a lot of recruiting because it's a tough job out there. We all know that. We all know that with transfer portals and NILs and all this stuff that it takes a special guy to really want to be head coach in college football as well as men's basketball, ladies basketball, whatever. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. I would like to see them obviously bring him on board, but there's a lot of other teams probably around the nation that feel the same way, maybe.
Okay. Well, all right. Go ahead, Joe.
Oh, well, we changed.
Dusty May would be a great choice for Michigan. There's probably a lot of guys out there that would be a great choice that are really good coaches. I think what he's doing right now is special. It's when you could do something like that with a team that's not in a power conference or that's not Duke, St. John's, North Carolina, Kentucky, Texas. That's special. And if you can continue to do it, it says what a great coach you are. When you do it at a bigger program, it's a lot easier. You get a lot more things that you're not going to get, like Gonzaga, what they've done with that program to build it from nothing into a powerhouse. That took the work of many people and a lot of years. Dusty May right now is in the process of doing that. Depends on what type of challenge he wants. Does he want to get the big name school with a lot of money? Yeah, he'd be great there. Or does he want to continue to build what he has and turn this team into that Gonzaga type school where it could be year after year? The choice will be his because the jobs will be there, whether it be Michigan or somewhere else in the future.
All right, let's go to Blake Lozinski. I know, Joe, we have some news that we want to bring up, but we'll probably do it shortly, okay? So I checked the wire service because here I thought Dusty was locked up. You know what, Blake? He is. He's getting paid $1 million a year. For FAU, would they be able to give him another raise? I don't know, but at some point it's hard to compete against the Wolverines. Okay, Joshua says he has to hop off Cheers Tribune way up to stay up. Joshua, you're a great asset to the program, and obviously people are going to be seeing more and hearing about you soon. So, and of course he talks about Curly the paper hanger. All right, good stuff. So we have all these little interesting nicknames within the realm. So, all right, Jacob, some thoughts about Dusty May. Would he be the ideal replacement for Juwan Howard?
Oh, he'd be great. And it's like, Dusty May would be wonderful for that. And another one that I'd heard from rumors a couple of different places this week was Jay Wright. I'd heard that one too. It's like, that could just be rumor or whatever, but I'm just saying I don't blame it because this, in the end, you know what I'm saying? We know what he's got. And it's like, but Dusty May would be nice, but if he's locked up, he's locked up. But it's like Michigan's got a lot of pride, and this has been horrible. 8-24 is awful. They're going to, not only are they going to want a improvement and everything like that, they're going to want to go for the ring right away. That's why I was thinking that rumor came out there in the first place. Go get something. So you never know. Dusty would be wonderful, though. It'd be a start to build it back up.
Well, Dusty May is 46 years of age. He handles the media well. He took a program at the beginning that he was hesitant to stay with the job because he didn't realize it was in as bad a shape. He thought it was a really big time career mistake. Okay. And look what he's done to us. So, there's a statue waiting for him out here if he goes to Joe Ellis route and becomes a Gonzaga Mark Few type of person. To me, if Ward Manuel does not hire Dusty May, unless Dusty decides he doesn't want to come, Ward Manuel should be fired. And I mean fired. Okay. And I can say that because I work with him up close here. I mean, handling the media is one thing. He isn't afraid to ask any kind of question. But the one thing about Dusty May is he can keep his players more than 1 year. He can keep them for 2, 3, 4 years. And in this day and age in college basketball, you don't see it too often. So Warren Manuel should be fired if Dusty May doesn't get hired, period. I don't care about other coaches are out there. And am I biased toward FAU? Yeah. Do I hate to see him leave FAU? Sure. He's a great guy to talk with. He's one of the super nice guys. And I've enjoyed my time with the guy. But it's inevitable that he'll want to take a step and find the right job. And if you can go to the Michigan Wolverines, and obviously the all-time winningest football program, and let alone with a stadium over 100,000, a stadium, what is it hold, George, about 13,000 over at Chrysler?
Yeah, about that.
Something like that. So
Nice arena. It's funny you say that, Scott. Not funny, but it is interesting because a lot of people were calling for Ward Manuel to be fired anyways. That's because of the stuff that happened with Jim Harbaugh in football. And obviously this whole situation, this soap opera sort of with Juwan Howard. And again, the health concern is serious. It's not a fun thing. As you know, you've been through so much yourself. But I agree with you. I mean, Ward, I think he's living dangerously if he screws this one up. I agree with you, Scott.
Well, the thing about Dusty May, like I just mentioned moments ago, he took an FAU program that was in shambles and he turned it around into something nobody ever thought it could become. I mean,
Exactly.
Think about it. FAU plays in a 3,000-seat gym, okay? And that place is loud. Even Penny Hardaway mentioned that, man, this place is small and it's loud, but, he couldn't even call out plays to his team. And I was there on the floor watching it, and see I call it the FAU Arena. I think it's called the Eleanor R. Baldwin Arena now because it was named after somebody else. But that place is loud. And I'll tell you one thing, you talk about electric, that place is it. And Penny Hardaway, think about it, the old NBA player who's found a good spot in Memphis, couldn't even yell out plays to his players, this guy.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and obviously we know there are lots of home floor advantages, but this one here is just remarkable. A few weeks ago, I saw USF run a 10,600 and change loud, and I'm looking at two venues that I have, I'm a USF graduate, but I'm an adopted FAU graduate. I've adopted them as well, adopted alumnus, and I take pride in both programs because I feel I've had a lot of time vested into both. So, again, the only way that Ward Manuel should be fired is if Dusty stays. But if he's out there and he's available, Ward, you better take it, okay? Or your honeymoon period of being a national championship in football will dissipate faster than you can say 1, 2, 3. All right. So with that said, Joe, you mentioned some breaking news. I'm going to let you go ahead and break it. So go ahead.
So first of all, it was opening morning for baseball today. The Dodgers played in Korea against the Padres and won the first game of the season. But while that was going on, Shohei Ohtani's interpreter was fired by the Dodgers after being accused of stealing millions of dollars from him in using it to gamble on soccer illegally. And it was turned over to federal prosecutors, according to a report on Bleacher Reports. The Dodgers did release a statement. They're aware of the media reports. They're gathering information, and Ippei Mizuhara has been terminated. So he was also the Hideki Okajimi's interpreter when he was with the Red Sox in 2007 to 2011. So he's had a history in being an interpreter. It's not his first time working with MLB. But according to this, he was possibly stealing as much as $4.5 million from Ohtani, and he used it to bet soccer. He claims he didn't know it was illegal, and Ohtani had nothing to do with any of the gambling, and it wasn't on baseball. So that was just out this evening.
All right, interesting. All right, let me go over some company information first, okay? I want to make sure we do get to that a little bit. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but I'll go through it all because we have a lot more things I want to talk about the Ohtani. But we have to make sure we get the company information out there as well as the book that I have out. First of all, just so everybody knows, the Sports Exchange is being broadcast around the world. The audio version of the Sports Exchange can be heard on iHeartRadio, Apple, Spotify, Google, wherever you get your podcasts. So we can find us everywhere audio. One thing we take pride of here is we can get you the audio version if you can't see us. And of course, if you can see us, take a look at the ticker at the bottom, because then you'll be able to see Sideline Sports' website as well. Please hit the red subscribe button on YouTube, South Florida Tribune. We're striving for more subscribers. Please also comment, like, share the broadcast. Great turnout in the chat room tonight. Joshua Burstein again, Blake Lozinski, and the group goes on and on. Want to be a guest? No problem. Send your topic ideas to southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or once again, participate in the chat room. If you want to advertise cost efficient, give me a call at 954-304-4941. We do broadcast live on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube. I'll get to the other stuff in a moment. So, all right, Jacob, let's pick up on where Joe left off. Ohtani and the interpreter. That's not a good situation.
This is really not a good situation at all, because this is one of those stories that can spread and spread very, very hard and very, very fast. And it's like, do we really believe that it's just the interpreter? And do we really believe that he's just trying to save his buddy? It's like, I don't believe. It's like, we might have ourselves. This is the biggest star in Major League Baseball. Major League Baseball does not need this. They're not in the kind of league of the NFL as a, like, NFL can be like Broadway, an ensemble. You could say something like that. The league is the star, even though they're stars. MLB needs a star. It needed Ohtani. And it's like, and if this comes up like this and stuff like that, there's going to be a lot of backlash. And then, or you have another thing. They're going to be like, if he gets to stay, does Pete Rose get to come back to go to the Hall of Fame? Say that Ohtani did gamble. There's a lot of pieces to this, and we're going to see this. This just comes from hearsay right now, but this is not over. No, by no stretch, by no means.
Hey, George.
Yeah, I think I agree with Jacob. I mean, this could have long-lasting effects on everything. You know, that huge contract, of course, that Ohtani got from the Dodgers, and it's not a good scene right now from what we're hearing. Thanks, JB, for breaking that news to us. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't agree more. I mean, this has the makings of something that would really, really impact the game, and obviously impact their greatest player in the game today. So, I mean, let's get all the facts out first, though, just like we always say. And let's see what's going on here, because this sounds like it's, well, obviously it's serious. They already fired him. The team did, as an interpreter. So very serious situation. And we got to really take a close look at this one.
Yeah, all I'm going to say is I'm going to take the fifth on this right now. I need more information. Right now on the surface, it doesn't look very good. So we need more. And it won't be the last time we talk about this topic, but I felt like while it was hot as journalists, like we all are, okay, we had to make sure we get it out there. And that opens it up to a lot of people in the chat to talk about it. All right, so let's go ahead and put Candy Ebling's comment. Maybe she can add a little bit. The interpreter said he wagered on a variety of sports, including the NBA, college football, but never bet on baseball, according to Thompson. Okay, we'll put that out there. Anybody want to respond, so be it. One more topic I want to get to tonight, Russell Wilson and Justin Fields on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anytime I bring Jacob Christner on, I got to throw a Chicago reference logo on Justin Fields, because I know what kind of a reaction I got to get from Mr. Christner. I mean, come on, Joe. Don't you know it by now? I like to agitate Christner as much as I can. You know, isn't it, everybody? Baseball's America's pastime, and our network's favorite pastime is me sticking it to Christner. All right, Mr.
You ain't sticking to me anything.
Oh, yes, I am. All right, so Christner, at least you get. I don't know if your laugh is worse than Gomer Pyle's or mine, but anyways, let's get to the Russell Wilson and Justin Fields.
Oh my God!
All right, Christner, get it back. Okay,
first off, JB, how you've known me all 4 years? How many times did I just drill everybody 6 ways from lose about the Justin? How many times? I mean, it's got to be in the hundreds of thousands. Has to be, just from the online to everything. I got this one. It's the same amount as I did Harden. But here's the thing.
So you got Russell Wilson and Justin Fields.
I think this is Russell Wilson's team, but this is the best thing for Justin. Really is. Because The thing about Russell Wilson by itself is he's not the same. He really isn't. But he's got the best psychological coach in football. He can take a deep breath if he makes mistakes. He can do that, and then they can be able to learn. And this isn't the whole Denver situation. They're both in a better situation right now. I think they'll both play based off of injuries or whatever. I think it's a great situation, to be very honest.
Okay, George.
I was just surprised by all the quarterbacks shifting around. I would have never thought that there would be two big names as they both landed in Pittsburgh. The Rooney family and obviously their coach, I mean, they know what they're doing. And I would tend to believe, there's going to be room for both of them to play. The problem is that you didn't give hardly anything up for him. I thought he would have got better than the draft choice, low draft choice. I mean, it was just what a slap in the face. I mean, I thought the Bears would get off with a little bit better than just that. But that being said, let's face it, he needed a clean start. He's not going to be total control. Obviously, we know that. Like you said, it's Wilson's team, I'm sure. But basically he needs to learn. He'll be learning under and tootling under this guy who's in some people's minds still a Hall of Fame candidate, Russell Wilson, although he's declined rapidly the last few years. So I look at it as a win-win. I mean, I really do. Both these guys needed a fresh start, and they're getting it in Pittsburgh. And depending upon the cast that surrounds them on offense and defense as well, overall, we'll see what happens.
Hey,
George, all right, Jake, if you want to say something, go ahead real quick.
Yeah, George, really quickly. The thing is, JB saw this myself, and I was saying it. The best time to have gotten rid of Justin Fields was the trade deadline last year after those two big games. That was his big market value. I was saying
That's
that.
true.
They saw that.
Yeah.
Right. And so when they just kept depleting, and then that two horrible games against the Packers, that finished it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So with that said, I'm going to double up on Eichhorn's comments. They got too little for him. They really did. When they had a chance to trade him to Atlanta, there were other trade possibilities. I think the return was so much worse than they should have gotten for a guy like him. I'll close out the topic after I turn over to Joe, but I wanted to make sure we get there. Go ahead, Joe.
You know, I look at this team from New York that plays in New Jersey that has a horrible starting quarterback that we pay $40 million a year for. And I look and I realize we could have signed Russell Wilson for $1.2 million, who's better than what we have. And they do business very much like the Rooneys do, the Maras. They are both old school football families that operate the same way with loyalty. Could have got Russell Wilson for $1.2 million. They could have traded with the Bears a 6th-round pick. You know what? They could have given him a 4th-round pick, given him a little bit more. And they could have got Justin Fields, who the Bears made a trade with the Giants to get Justin Fields earlier when he got drafted.
Right.
So it could have kind of went full circle. But on to what you're saying, Pittsburgh made a great move. If Russell Wilson doesn't perform, you got Justin Fields. It's a better situation for both of them, better coaching for both of them where they're going to be now. The coach, Mike Tomlin, is a Hall of Fame coach. He's never had a losing season. He's phenomenal at what he does. He now has 2 really good quarterbacks, something he hasn't had for a couple of years. I think that they're both going to perform better than they did previously. And I think basically Russell Wilson will be the right now quarterback and Justin Fields will be the quarterback of the future. And I think that they're set up pretty nice. I think it was a great move and it was really cheap to get both of them in place. Great job.
Yeah, you know what, Joel? I agree with you 1,000% on this one. First of all, as far as Russell Wilson was concerned, Sean Payton never liked him anyways. You can tell that he hated Russell Wilson and had to tolerate him and use him for a year. And when it became apparent that relationship was going nowhere but south fast, then it became apparent that Wilson's days were numbered. So therefore, that leads us to Mike Tomlin. First of all, Mike Tomlin hasn't had a losing season, has won a Super Bowl title. But the thing about him is he's going to go to a coach that believes in him. There's nothing more important than a coach that believes in you. When he believes in you, then you play much better. You know, Sean Payton just didn't like him, period.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whatever Sean Payton does for a quarterback, you won't be able to blame Russell Wilson anymore. Time
No.
will tell as we get ready for the draft process. Answer Justin Fields. Well, again, nothing wrong with holding the clipboard. I don't blame Fields entirely what happened in Chicago. He had bad coaching is what he did. He had bad supporting cast. I'm glad he's over in Pittsburgh. In my opinion, I think the Bears should have kept Justin Fields because I'm not so sure Caleb Williams is a solution there either. The only thing that he is he's cheaper for the next 3 or 4 years. Okay, Jacob, okay. Body language, you can move your head. If you want me to turn you into Jacob Bobblehead Krishner, we could go ahead and come up with nicknames out that Josh was off. And by the way, Blake, glad to have you on. I know your phone ran out of juice because you're all listening to our shows. That's how I recharge the battery. We got a couple more shows tomorrow, particularly Pundit, Spundit, and Fire Up. So with that said, okay, to me, the Bears blew it with Fields. I'm not that record that he had wasn't his fault. You got bad coaches, you got bad coordinators, and you have no talent. What do you expect the guy to look like? Records are deceiving, and in Fields' case, they were. And it needs stability. You're going to have stability with Mike Tomlin, okay? Let me tell you, Le'Veon Bell wishes he never left Pittsburgh, okay? He wishes he would have gone back. Antonio Brown, okay, for all the drama that this clown Brown has, okay, probably wishes he didn't leave the stable environment of Pittsburgh. So, to me, you're right. I mean, Russell Wilson probably will get an extension next year if he performs well, and you got Justin Fields waiting in the wings. I don't think Pittsburgh's quarterback situation has ever been better. And, let me go back a little bit in time with Pittsburgh's quarterback situation. They've had some pretty good African-American quarterbacks there. You ever heard of Joe Gilliam? Yeah. Ever heard of Cordell Stewart? Yes. They're pretty good.
Bear. And Chicago Bear, too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying. So, that doesn't mean anything. But, the Rooney Rule came by, via the Steelers. But my point in this particular situation is this, okay? 2 quarterbacks with fresh start, and the X factor is Mike Tomlin. I like it for both. No crime in Fields holding a clipboard, and I wish Russell Wilson well. Of course, for $1.2 million, not a bad investment. Denver's on the hook for $38 million anyways. So wouldn't it be amazing if Denver played Pittsburgh in the postseason and Pittsburgh knocked them out with Russell Wilson? Oh, Sean Payton. I can only imagine what that crow will taste like. And
Dude with about 400 yards.
Yeah. I will leave it at that. So
it'll be bad crow.
Yeah. So anybody have any parting shots really quickly? Joe, you got any?
No, I mean, we missed him as opening day, but, baseball, who talks about that anymore?
Well, evidently you don't.
I mean, they're playing in Korea. I don't know if that's the right way to open the season. Little interesting. I don't know if I like it or I don't like it. It's at 5:00 in the morning. I'm certainly not waking up at 5:00 in the morning to sit and watch a baseball game.
Yeah,
But interesting. You got to grow the sport somehow. I don't know how I feel about it.
I'm with you. Opening day is when it is. If they want to go out there and expand internationally, it's another story. So my parting will not in this case here. Opening day is when opening day really is. I don't care whether you put them overseas or not, but they're trying to grow the game internationally. All right, George, I said my parting shot along with Joe. What is yours?
My parting shot is just that the Detroit Red Wings still have some life in them, despite the fact that they lost so many games in a row. They came back with a amazing comeback over the Columbus Blue Jackets last night. So this is an exciting part of hockey. This is great. You got so many teams in contention for the wild card berth. I'm sure Commissioner Gary Bettman loves it. And there's a lot of exciting hockey for the next 3-4 weeks to see who makes the playoffs.
And by the way, Joe, they do play the Islanders tomorrow night, just so you know.
Yes.
And Joe Ellis is an Islanders fan. So one of us is going to win, I guess, right? All right, Jacob Christopher, your final parting shot, and then we'll call it a night.
You were right. You're right about that. It's like the way that you were saying about with Justin Fields, it's not an issue with holding a clipboard. That's completely correct. The thing is, everything I bring up, it's not just to mouth off. And it's all that kind of stuff. The Bears don't have the infrastructure the way like the Steelers do in the first place. This has been the reason I've been mouthing off for 3 years. It's not hating somebody like some people think, playing emotions. The Bears don't have that infrastructure to do that. They don't have it through Caleb Williams either. And I'm just saying, so I'm wishing Justin Fields very, very well. I always liked him. I just didn't like the situation he was in. I didn't like all of the highlight magnets that were going into the thing while the Bears were losing. It's time for the Bears to get a brand fresh new start. I hope it's Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix. I don't want to see Caleb around, but I'm also going to root for Justin to win in Pittsburgh if he gets a chance.
Good stuff. All right. Let me give everybody tomorrow's programming. Pundit will come on tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be joined by author Igor Ganopolsky. He was on The Real and the Rare. He will also be on tomorrow's edition of Pundit's Pundit. We're going to be talking about boxing tomorrow as a workout, and we're also going to be talking about teenagers as well. So he's written 2 books, and he'll have the opportunity to come on this show. He was on The Real and the Rare, and I'm looking forward to doing what I did last night and giving Jacob, George, and Denzel an opportunity to ask them questions about the book. Obviously, what we did on Inside the Pigskin, what Billy Reagans Jr. worked out. So this is one of those shows where, you know, the rest of the crew will be able to talk to Igor, who's a very personable guy. And he's also helping me out as a consultant for the South Florida Tribune in our book division as well. So, and of course, after that, Fire Up, Candy Ebling will be on tomorrow night with George Eichhorn as well. And Jeremy Bulrick and Ralph Williams will be on tomorrow night. So that'll follow Pundit. So with that said, that concludes this edition of the Sports Exchange. But before we go, Jacob, Chris, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
5 days a week between South Florida Tribune and Sideline Sports. Also, Jake the Pundit on Twitter or X. Jake the Pundit 1 on TikTok. And I'm also on Reddit now under Jake the Pundit and working on Sideline Sports.
Go ahead.
Well, the best way to get a hold of me is right here at the South Florida Tribune website. You can drill down to the Motor City Tribune. You'll find my columns. And at the end of the column is a link. If you're interested, I've got a book out there. It's been out for several years now, but Detroit Sports Broadcasters on the Air. And treat yourself to 2 books. Get Scott's book, get my book, and you'll be all set for your springtime reading. You can reach me at geichhorn@yahoo.com, on LinkedIn under my name, and also on Twitter at SanGSports99, and find me on 108 Stitches, Pundit's Pundit, the Sports Exchange, and many other great programs here on Scott and Candy's network and Sideline Sports.
Well done. Okay, Joe, it's your turn.
JB_ the program on X. Sideline Sports every Tuesday, 8:30 Eastern. It's on Wednesday mornings, WDJY 99.1 in Atlanta, and Sundays at noon. Alumni Media and DBTV. Make sure you watch at all those places, and definitely follow on all the social media, Sideline Sports, the same logo you see here.
There you go. And of course, don't forget their website at sidelinesports.net, sidelinesportsnet.com, that Candy Ebling went ahead and mastermindedly put that together. She's done pretty good work in there. And I'll tell you one thing, Sideline Sports has a website that they can be very, very proud of. So they certainly come up with content. We just want to make sure that Candy was able to put the content that they have on a credible platform, and it's turned out so far so good, but there's a lot more to come on that website as well as ours. With that said, let me go over our information very quickly. Our website is www.southfloridatribune.com, Twitter/X at Tribune South. Candy Ebling is behind the scenes producing the show, working on websites, coming on the air once in a while. I have a book out there called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. You see it on your screen. It's available on Kindle and Amazon and now Barnes & Noble. And we also have it on, I believe, Kobo and Lulu. Those are online ways to get it as well. And we're adding more and more to it. So, again, that concludes this edition of the Sports Exchange. So, on behalf of Jacob Christner, Joe Ellis, and George Eichhorn, my name is Scott Morgan. Thank you for joining us. We will see you next Wednesday night on the Sports Exchange. Meanwhile, everybody have a great weekend. Thank you very much for joining us, and we appreciate the participation in the chat room. Good night now.